let's go over the attack one more time so we can remember. So remember, this person logged into their account, okay? And let me show you the server code really quick for the victim. So we have pretty much a table called users and balances. We gave Alice 500 and we gave Bob 100, and we can see their passwords. So the first things, and then we just created a simple express server. The first route we get, it's is the home route. So what we're doing is we're getting the session ID from the cookies. So if the user already has a session ID, we're gonna get it from the cookie, and it's called the session ID. And then what we're gonna do is we're going to see if that session ID matches any of the sessions that we have over here. And then what we can do is it's a mapping pretty much from the user to the session ID, and then that way we know that their username and their password was correct. So if username, okay, so if we do find that their sessions matches their session ID, then we set their balances for that username. So we get the balance for that username, and then we render out their profile at that point. If we don't have that, then we have the index page where they can log in. Then we have the login page, which again tries to get the username from the rec.body. So at this point, we're going to be sending the username through the login form. Okay, so remember, that's the login form. Then the password will become the users, and then through the username, then we get it from that that table. So if the password, okay, that we get from the table matches the password that they entered, what we're going to do is we're going to, and this is, so again, this is the first way to defend against the session hacking attack. What you want to do is you want to create a session ID that's random enough, right? That every single user that you can compare it essentially against something that's on the server. But at the same time, if someone were to get that session ID without any context, then it's not something that they can use against the user, right? So for that, what we use is we're going to use the random bytes function. That's part of JavaScript, and we're going to base64 encode it, and then that's going to become the next session ID, which is, again, that's just going to become the user session ID. So we're going to set the session ID, and at this point I'm going to show you without the secure true, the HTTP only, and the same site lax. So I'm going to comment this stuff out just so we can see how the attack was performed, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do it again, but I'll change it at that point so that we can defend against it, okay? And then all that happens in the logout path. It's, again, we're going to get the session ID from the cookies, because if they're logged in, then we know they had a session ID. And then we're going to go ahead, delete session ID from our table, and then we're going to clear that cookie called session ID. And then we're going to redirect the user back to the home page. And then the transfer route. So the transfer route is the following. So we have the session ID, which, again, we're going to get from the cookies, okay? And then what we're going to do is pretty much the same thing we did for the homepage. So we're going to get the username from the sessions table and passing it in that session ID. If it turns out that there is no user name, then we're going to send a fail. So it's like, hey, you know what, that's not allowed. So again, that's if they don't have, if they've logged out and then the attacker tries to send a post request, but at that point, then that user has logged out already, so the session is not active. Then we know that they shouldn't be able to transfer any funds if they don't have a session active. Okay, if they do have a session active, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the amount from the body that they want to transfer, and then we're gonna send we're gonna get the to also from the body to who they want to send it to, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna deduct from the balances table and that username the amount, and then we're gonna add from the balances table to the to user the correct amount. So essentially that's what we're going to do, and then we're going to redirect them back to the home page. So that's pretty much the victim server. Pretty simple express server. On the attacker server, what we're doing is we just have the home page and then the attacker transfer form. That's so the reason I created the attacker transfer form, and I'll show you the HTML for this right now, is so that we can include it in an iframe. And the reason for the iframe is that once we perform a post request on the form, usually what happens is that we get redirected So because we you know, we don't want the user to actually notice that anything it's happening, because we want to hide the attack. So if we put it in an iframe, then that's one way that that we can bypass that redirection, at least on the from the perspective of the client, right, of the victim. And then for the app get for the homepage, then what we're rendering is essentially any random page, and all we have in this page. So I'm gonna go over here, and then on the attacker page, all we have is the iframe. Okay, so that's all there is. But let me just go ahead and let's put in an H1 here, and then attacker site, just so it's really clear where we are. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then the index file, you guys saw that. It's a pretty simple page, just with a login form. And then the profile page, again, shows the balance, and then has a form to make the transfer. And that's pretty much it all. Yeah. So let me show you the attacker transfer form. So the attacker transfer form, it's a post request on the attacker's website. So remember, this can be embedded into any website at all, right? There is, like I said, the way HTTP is set up, it doesn't stop us from making any post or get requests to any other HTTP client. Okay, so at that point, we're going to actually perform a post request to the local host, which is the victim's computer in this case, and then the transfer path. And then at that point, we're gonna just enter the amount that we want to transfer. So I think if we put here, so let me just do this. Yeah. So let's go ahead and run the attack again, so we can see it in action. And I'm gonna go ahead and restart the servers so that we know that so we can see it working from the beginning to the end. Okay. So then I'm gonna go ahead and start the victim server up. I'm gonna start the attacker server on a different port, and then I'm actually going to start a I'm gonna use ngrok in so that we can actually be on a different domain completely, so that we can see the full effect of the attack. So I'm gonna refresh here, and then all our cookies, the cookie's still here from the previous example, but then at this point this cookie is invalidated. Okay, because remember, once a new session started, then that cookie will be deleted. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete it over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll go to the network tab. Okay, and I'm gonna clear this stuff out, and then yeah, so I'm gonna log in, okay, as Alice, and then password, and then let's go ahead and see what got sent on the through the form. So as you can see, this was not encrypted, right? So anyone in looking at this request can see the username and the password sent. Okay, so that's one vulnerability. Then the other one, we see that in the response, we got a we got a new session given to us. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go over to the attacker site, and then let's open up the network tab as well, and then let's go ahead and transfer some funds. So we're gonna transfer, in this case, $100 to Bob, and then let's go ahead and click transfer. So we get the transfer. We get the transfer request over here. So that's a request that this attacker website created. And then let's see what's included in the request headers. We can see that in the request headers we have the session ID, right? And if we compare the ID to the cookie session ID that we have for that user right now, it's the same session ID, right? And although it's originating from a completely different site, okay, so this one's actually coming from a completely different domain, right? So different origin, all completely, right? So that's a request to localhost 4000, but we can see that the referrer is actually localhost 5000, right? So that's a completely different website issuing on the user's behalf on a request. And one of the things I want to try out is I want to show you how you can actually do this through JavaScript, so that you don't even have to fill out the form, and you can automate the whole process, or an attacker can automate a whole process themselves. Okay, so what we're gonna go ahead and do, I'm gonna go ahead and write a little script, okay, and then let me show you that in a second. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a little script to the attacker transfer form, and I'm gonna go ahead and what we're gonna write is we're gonna write document.forms. So in this case, we know we only have one form, but if you have access to the form, or if the attacker gets access to the form, then through JavaScript they can give it an ID and then target that form. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna submit on the behalf of that user. We're gonna click the submit button. I also added a value 100, and we added the amount to Bob. And then what we want to do is we're gonna come to the attacker. Let's see, the attacker EJS, and then I'm gonna put display, and I'm gonna call it none. So this way, although we're still gonna be on the attacker site, what we want to do is we want to see what would happen if the attacker was running this, just so you can see how hard it is to spot from the perspective of the victim. So I'm gonna refresh the page. Now we don't have access to now. If this was a completely different, website that the user is on, then they would have no idea that we have an iframe form that's making a post request to a site that they can potentially have a cookie session still active, right? But if we do go to Atlas's account and then we refresh our account, we see that the current balance is 100. And I'm gonna go ahead and refresh this again. And then if we go back to Atlas, so again, at this point, you see nothing happening, right, on this side other than, so the user will be completely oblivious that a post request is being made. But if we go back to their account, we can see that their balance actually goes back to, it's actually decrementing, right? So their account is definitely being affected, but they would have no idea from looking at this site that that's actually happening, right? And that's how it could be done with JavaScript and a simple JavaScript injection. And that's a cross-site request 4G attack by using the session hacking attack. So now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and so stop the servers. Okay. Then what we want to do is I'm going to go to the victim server, and now we're going to apply the our cookies if our defense. So, and then we're going to see if that attack still works. So now to our cookie, what we're going to do is secure true. Okay, on the login path, we're going to do the same thing. So once they log in, what we're going to do is we're going to issue the cookie. We're going to put secure true. That way it's over HTTP every time and it's not unencrypted. We're going to put a HTTP only as well, so it's not accessible to JavaScript. We're going to set same site lax, instead of none. And then we're going to set the max age for 30 days. And then again, that's pretty much it. And then we have the logout path and then the transfer path. So for that, let's see here. Do we need to change anything? No, I think we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and save this file. And let's go ahead and start up the servers. So the servers, again, victim server, we're going to go ahead and start the attacker server. And then we're going to go ahead and actually start ngrok on port 5000. That way we're on a different domain. I'm going to go ahead and reload this. So again, we should see that we're logged out. If I go to let's go to the application tab, and let me just delete this previous cookie, although it's not valid anymore. Let's just delete it so we're working with a clean slate. All right, so we're logged in, and I'll look into what the secure. The reason why secure true is not going to work right now is because we're over HTTP instead of HTTPS because we're on the local host. So again, that's So I'll comment it out for now. But as you can see, it's it didn't even let the cookie go through because we weren't on HTTP. So at least we know that's working. Okay, so now we have a session ID. Perfect. Now let's go and go to our other domain. I'm gonna exit out of here. So now we're on the attacker side. And if you remember, we have the div and all that hidden. But let's see. Okay, let me see the. Let's go ahead and see the if anything got deducted. So nothing got deducted from this account, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and refresh it. And let's go ahead and go to the network tab. Okay, and let's see what requests are sent. So now we sent a request to the transfer to the attacker transfer form, right? And then to the transfer path on the other domain, right? So on the 4000 domain, we're sending a request to it. And let's see what the request headers have. So they refer the, let's see if we see anything for the cookie. So the refer is that we have no cache. We see that there are no cookies being sent anywhere. And yes, sec fetch. So same site. So same site is since it's telling us, since this is not from since same site, we're not gonna actually include the cookie anymore. And as you can see, even if we refresh this multiple times, right? We can see that we go back to the bank website, and then nothing has, this attack has not been successful anymore. Okay, so there you go. That's how we, that's what session hacking is. That's how we defend against it. And as well, we went over DNS, HTTP, and then we're getting a much clearer view of how we can go in and with just a few simple defensive mechanisms really stop attacks that can cause a lot of vulnerabilities in our systems and our applications, and protect our users in that case. Okay, so anyways, hope you enjoyed it. And then we're gonna move on to different attacks now, XSS and iframe attacks, and then we're gonna move over to the server side attacks and then injections.